play a little bit off of what you
Go
were
ahead.
saying to Lori. Like, so I've heard this strategy before, the routines, making sure, and Einstein did the same thing, apparently, as Steve Jobs, same outfit to free up his mind.
He watched cartoons, too.
But what if you get bored? I mean, like, that's my problem a lot. I'm great at startup. I am an awesome, energetic startup, but then
Hard out of the
maintenance
gate,
is
but
terrible.
fizzles out.
Yes, because I either get too bored or I just think you hit it on the head about I'm so close and I'm better than I was before,
Yes.
and I'm kind of tired of doing all this really extra hard work.
Do you hear what she's saying? It's not that she's having difficulty reaching her goal. It's not that she's having any problem with creating a vision for herself. What the real issue is what you're focused on.
Yeah.
So what happens is you get close to your goal, and where does your focus go?
Just kind of, I guess more having.
What you're missing instead of what you're getting.
I guess, yes. Like I miss, like,
Yes.
even eating. It's like you talk about, well, we know an apple's better than a Hershey bar. Well, yeah, but what tastes better? A chocolate
Yes.
bar.
Where's your focus? Are you more concerned about immediate gratification?
Oh, always, yes.
Yes.
That is
And
my biggest
You've
problem.
got, honest, here's the truth. You will forfeit your future if your only concern is immediate gratification. It's not that you can't do it some of the time, but we're a result of what we do consistently. I will have Christmas cookies or Easter, whatever, a couple times a year if that's what I want to do. I have found as I've gotten older, my proclivity and my draw to that is so much less because of how it makes you feel. When you have such a clean diet and a clean exercise routine, and you're so consistent, you feel so good, and you wake up and you don't have any type of drain or lethargy, and you're able to sleep well, you don't have that tendency. But when you divorce that, when you make the decision, no, I'm not going to do it anymore, don't give yourself any. Commit to a certain period of time. Say for the next 90 days. And that's where accountability comes in. Because accountability is not going to let you fall back into that old habit and that pattern. Because what you do is, just like what many people do, is you become your worst enemy. You start to say, you know, what's this one cookie going to hurt? After all, this is kind of crazy. I mean, how long am I going to eat healthy?
Slippery slope. That's
And
exactly
what
it.
happens is it snowballs.
Yeah.
So the key is, how do I prevent the snowball? One, have a list of what the cost of that outcome are if you continue with that. The challenge is you're very bright, as many of us are. And we can all rationalize away a bad decision, but that's the nature of sin. Is catastrophe doesn't get you at the end of one decision. You see, that's why people fall into it. Do you think Bernie Madoff decided he was going to become such a fraud the moment he cheated one person? Oh, no. He did it because he got away with it. He got away with it. That's the insidious nature of indecision and bad decision, is that you think you can get away with it until harvest time comes, until all of a sudden the jeans don't fit, until all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you say, what in the hell happened? So the key is forward pacing yourself, mentally rehearsing, if I fall back into what I have done, which is consistently making poor choices day after day, week after week, month after month, what's the ultimate cost going to be? And get emotionally connected to it. You see, the reason I asked all of you to be very emotionally engaged today wasn't because I wanted, you know, a lot of rah-rah and all that. The reason I asked is, as I said earlier, we remember what we feel emotional about. Why do you feel so emotional about a Hershey's bar? Because the corporations and because of your social conditioning, what you're around. Think about it, any holiday. When you get a Christmas stocking, what's in there? Hershey's Milk Kisses. And what are you linking up? All this positive emotion. Your parents are there. You're getting gifts. It's nice and warm in the house. It's snowy outside. Santa came that morning. It starts from a very early age. Think about how McDonald's has worked. When you're a little one, you don't even know what you're putting in your mouth, but you know that box has a toy in it. And so all of a sudden, your brain neurologically is connecting up pleasure with this unhealthy thing. You have to take charge of your conditioning. You've got to look at it from a reasonable place. You need to bring logic to your emotion. In other words, you have to educate your emotions. So control your focus, step one, by looking at what's the ultimate expression of this choice if I continue with it. Don't delude yourself into thinking it's just this one time. For many people, especially with weight issues, you've got to treat yourself like an alcoholic until you feel healthy enough and sober, quote unquote, enough to be able to say, okay, I can have a modified relationship with this. Think about a bad relationship in any way. You have a bad relationship with a guy. And first it starts with him yelling at you. And you say, you never used to be like that. And you tell your mom or a close friend, and she says, it doesn't sound good. And you say, oh, it was just that one time. Now all of a sudden, the yelling turns into shoving. Then you say, oh, but you don't understand. His work's just so bad. It's really challenging for him. You tell your friend, they say, this doesn't look good. Consider the direction you're headed. Then the next time, he shoves you up against the wall. Now you get a bruised shoulder. Now you say, I love him, though. I mean, I remember all the good times. You see, there has to be necessary endings in life. And until you really connect up what these things are going to cost you, if you continue down the path you're headed, you won't make the choice. The choice comes when you're more excited about what's ahead than what's behind. When you're more excited about what you're going to get from fitting into the clothes you want to fit into, when you have really potent goals. The people that are on the fence, I could change, I should change, but I don't, as I talked about earlier, they're very wishy-washy because they haven't really connected emotionally with what it's going to mean to have what they want.
Well, I think that's what you said, like being committed to the discipline. How do you handle if someone is on the fence? Like in my case, it's been my whole adult life. Mm-hmm. I'm on the fence a lot. I want to do it, but
I think you are on the fence, but you get off the fence and take action, then you get back on it. Or you go to the other side. I don't think you're on the fence as much as you may say. It sounds to me like you're either doing it or you're not.
I'm an extremist thinker. That is true. That is
Black and white. So it's very much, I'm not on the fence about doing it. It's either I'm doing something until I get bored, which really means until I feel less pain than I'm in right now.
Yeah.
So for a person that's motivated that way, you've got to stay fixated on your pain. Strip down naked, have someone take a picture of you from behind,
No.
and put it as your screensaver on the phone.
No.
And every time you look at it, say, oh, damn, no.
No.
Oh, damn, no. Hershey's bar, no.
See, but I am a rationalizer, and it's not just about weight. I mean,
you're not a rationalizer. You're thinking with your heart, not your reason.
Yeah. But
otherwise, you make the right choice.
Debt and finance is the same way. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all like you think
Impulsivity.
You're going to do good. Yes. It's connected all together. So
yes.
How do you hold yourself accountable when everyone else around you is kind of like, oh, it's fine, you're fine, or they're doing the same thing you're doing?
Because you think about it again. You have to bring yourself to where that's going to take you. Think about if a disaster comes in your life, a tragedy, and they all come. The truth is, tragedy, disaster, sadness, sorrow, all of us are going to experience it. The question isn't if, it's when. And are you prepared? If your health isn't at its peak, you've got to ask yourself. If your financial health isn't at its peak, you've got to ask yourself, have I a wall that's tall enough, thick enough, and impenetrable enough that nothing can rob me? Because think about what it would cost you if most people in America are, I think, one paycheck away from broke.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what the statistics is. Don't quote me, but if I recall, they say they're one paycheck away from being broke. And in fact, I think they say the majority of America has less than $1,000 saved. Now, that's sad for a lot of people. So you've got to consider that's a lot of people. They don't put much faith in their future. Here's what's even sadder. This generation, the generations behind me, is the first generation to think that their parents had it better than they'll have it. Which really means they think the promise is behind them. Why try? If you want to ever get an idea, listen to the music that comes out. Hopeless, tragic, abusive, self-destructive. It's not hopeful. It's not let's create change, let's make the world a better place. The days of John Lennon, Paul McCartney, all those things, those types of thoughts have become the minority. It's still out there. There are people that think that way. Don't mistake me for saying that it's a lot less. But I'm here to say that if you'll put your focus more on, okay, this is a must for me, not because of just what it's going to do for me, but what it's going to do for others. Are you married?
No.
Okay.
Divorced.
Do you ever want to be in a relationship again?
What I want and what I think is possible is two different things.
Okay. So let me ask you, isn't it true that relationship is probably the most positive vehicle for feeling good at the best and the most painful vehicle for feeling bad? Isn't that true? So you've got to understand that with every new opportunity comes challenge. With every good, when you get more of anything, I was just talking about this in business. My business has grown a lot. I reach so many people. And for all the good I do, then there's all the haters too. Okay, when you get more, when I have more people out there tweeting, oh, he changed my life, and all, there's also people who say, he's full of himself, blah, 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 whatever. Okay? More is more. You've got to ask yourself, are you more focused on having a life that's legendary for you and having it well defined, or more in favor of protecting yourself from pain? Because if that's your philosophy, if your philosophy is I'm going to avoid pain, you're going to stay exactly where you are. In fact, you'll probably become a lot worse because you'll keep people at distance because you're afraid of being vulnerable because you've been hurt before. What we need to recognize is this. All of us have innate fears that we aren't good enough and that we're not going to be loved. Those are the two core fears of all humans because as children, we're dependents. As children, we rely on other people to take care of us. And so as a child, we learn if we don't have love, we die. And so when we get older and we come into a relationship with someone and they make us feel, for whatever reason, that you're not good enough. You failed. You weren't good enough to be my wife or whatever. Weren't good enough to be my husband. All of a sudden, it reinforces that core fear and we retreat. What you need to recognize is you're not a child. You don't need anyone to fulfill you. You need to decide how you want your life to be and take small steps toward it. Small incremental steps. Fractional changes that have a difference-making ability so that you can measure, wow, hey, I didn't lose 10 pounds in this week, but I lost 3. And then you have an accountability system to hold yourself to. Whether it's you hook up with a buddy, you hire someone like me, whatever it is, it's going to hold you to that standard. Because it's easy, if we don't have a confidant or a mentor or someone that's going to hold us to our highest standard, to fall short of that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Next question.